Hello, this is this week's version of the Starkville Daily News Digital Express. I'm Danny P. Smith, sports editor. Joining me today is Robbie Faulk, our high school beat writer, and he also covers the Mississippi State women's team. And Robbie, you know, it's getting to the home stretch of basketball for college, both men and women, and the women have a couple of games left in the regular season as we tape this on a Thursday tonight with Arkansas. Big matchup with them, obviously. You know, Mississippi State lost to a heartbreaker to Alabama on Sunday, a tip in at the buzzer that Alabama won 66-64, I believe, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and Arkansas is going to bring their high arsenal three-point shooting bunch in, and it's going to be awful tough to bounce back from that disappointment and get after those Razorbacks tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of the worst matchups for this particular state team because they're not defending the three-point line very well, and they're not shooting the three well. So, yeah, we saw that on Sunday. Alabama made 9 3-pointers, was 9 of 14. State made 1 3-pointer, and they lost the ball game by 2 points. So you prevent one of those 3-pointers from happening, or you hit one more and you win that ball game, but it was not meant to be. So this team their identity is not to shoot the 3-point shot, but they're not playing 3-point defense like Vic Schaefer would like them to.
For sure.
So that's definitely a concern going into this ball game. Arkansas doesn't play very much defense themselves, but their goal is to come out and score 100 points and win the ball game. So they're going to come out firing. Mike Neighbors knows Vic Schaefer very well, and vice versa. Those two coached together under Gary Blair at Arkansas, and Neighbors, of course, went to Washington, had a Final Four team there. Him and Vic Schaefer met up in the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago. So these two know each other very well. They're very good friends. They're going to know each other's tendencies pretty well. It should be a pretty good chess match too. Yeah. You know, I don't expect Arkansas to just come out and their only game plan to be just throw up a bunch of threes. They're going to try to do something to shake Vic Schaefer a little bit and try to take away some of what Mississippi State does well too. So it's going to be a tough ball game. For the most part, things are kind of set for the SEC tournament. Mississippi State looks like they're going to be the number 2 seed overall, but you definitely want to go into that tournament on a high note. You don't want to go in with 2 losses, right. And then you go to Oxford on Sunday with 2 losses too, and be hanging your head down. So this team needs some confidence, and this would be a really good game to get that started again.
Yeah, I definitely remember Arkansas being an up-and-coming team from last year because they met in the SEC tournament championship, and that's when I realized at that point that Arkansas had it rolling a little bit, and they just continued that momentum into this season and have played well all year. So, but you mentioned 2 very important games. You know, Mississippi State beat Ole Miss pretty handily at home a few weeks ago, but in this rivalry matchup, especially with Ole Miss seeing that State has lost a couple of games since then, may give them a little bit of hope that at home they might be able to push them a little bit. But of course, Ole Miss is not a very good basketball team, but at home, you know, and get the few fans that'll be there behind them, anything can happen. So maybe look ahead to that game, since a lot of people may see this video and the Arkansas game's already in the books.
Right, and you know that's a game that, you know, State's kind of looking towards bigger and better things than this rivalry at this point. Schaefer's won a lot of games in a row against Ole Miss, but it's still a very important game to people in the state. And you know, some of those players too believe that it's a big game as well. You know, some of them aren't from here, but there are some Mississippi kids on that roster that want to win that ball game. And State, like I said, just needs to have confidence going in that SEC tournament. Ole Miss has nothing to play for but, you know, pride at this point, and they're going to treat that ball game like it's the most important game of the year, because it is. Yeah. So, you know, big game on Thursday night and a big game on Sunday for State to try to close this thing out strong.
Right. And of course, the men got a big win on Wednesday night against Alabama. And then kind of their little up and down kind of season is still going, and they're just trying to improve with whatever wins they can get to hopefully get that NCAA bid and go back to the tournament for 2 straight years. But our only high school team that's still playing right now is Starkville High School boys. We did have some news this week that the Oak Hill Academy boys, for the first time in their history, made the overall state tournament. So that was big for them. But they lost in the first round, so their season's over. But a good job by Andrew Howell and the Raiders over at West Point. But Greg Carter still has his team in a familiar spot, and that's in the state playoffs, trying to defend their 6A state championship. And doing a little bit different this year. The road will be a little bit different. They're going to Mississippi Valley to play Olive Branch Friday night, and if they win there, I think they go to the Coliseum next in Jackson, and the ultimate destination will be the Pavilion in Ole Miss. So that's going to be an interesting way to do it if they indeed defend the championship.
Yeah, and they have a very tough quarterfinal matchup going up against Olive Branch, which is always a great program in the state. They have a Mississippi State signee on their team, a SEC player. So it's going to be a very tough matchup. And as we saw last week, anything's possible this late in the schedule. I mean, they almost lost that ball game against Clinton, a team that just wouldn't go away, and Starkville could never really get over the hump until late. Zeke Cook kind of brought them out of the ashes there. They were struggling for most of that ball game, and he pretty much won that game for them. So that to say that he was a big part of things would be an understatement. Bringing him back was huge. I mean, a lot of people question whether or not he should have come back and if they could have won without him. But they couldn't have won without him the other night. So he was a huge addition, and it looks like he's just about back to 100%. Just seeing him on the court, he had 23 points. He was our athlete of the week, I believe.
Right.
So just a huge night for him, and he's going to be big now moving forward. It's win or go home for them, and they obviously have every bit of a chance to win it all. But everybody's going to be hitting on all cylinders, and they weren't the other night, but they found a way to win.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see, they'll in the next couple of weeks to see if the Jackets can indeed defend that state championship. But we've got high school baseball and softball, of course, Mississippi State baseball and softball. So the spring sports are slowly catching up with the horrible weather they've been having to deal with, that they're finally getting on the fields and playing a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how those seasons come around in the next few weeks, but still some basketball left to play, and that'll be interesting too. We'll keep you updated on social media, and we'll talk more next week on the Digital Express. I'm Danny Smith, and this is Robbie Faulk. We'll see you next time.